from colonial exploitation. The development of tropical medicine at the college was shaped by white supremacy and racist pseudoscience. The study sets out how the school, which was founded in 1899, for decades received most of its funding from Britain's colonies, particularly those in Africa, and colonial companies, but its medical research only benefited white people. Oh look, another British company that claims to be doing lots of good things, making a great big mess in Africa for the benefit of a few people in white Britain. I'm quite happy to admit that, like, white privilege is a thing, okay? But I tell you what, and this gets onto some other stuff, doesn't it? There are companies in existence in the UK. There are people in existence in the UK whose wealth and property portfolio was built on the backs of dead black people. And we should be calling them out. If we're doing this whole, like, if we're going down the route of Black Lives Matter, if we're going down the rainbow thing and all lives matter and everybody matters and this stuff, then it matters where you got your money and your power and your influence from. Because if my ancestors got everything that I've got, because I fucked up your ancestors, I'd be pissed. Then you've got the World Bank listed again, and all I've written there is an entire can of worms. BrettonWoodsProject.org article, what are the main criticisms of the World Bank and the IMF? There's lots of them. Go and have a look. Then you've got the World Resources Institute. Guided by rigorous research and data analysis, we work with partners to implement on-the-ground projects.
I was looking for a video to do. I'm going to go on the Michael Oziak channel. This is Candace Owens, part whatever. I'm going to hit one of these. I'm looking at him right now. In the background, I got this new guy named Jeff. What's his name? Jeff Buys Cars is the name of his channel. He's just a mechanic. That's a real person. I'm happy to find some real people, maybe. We'll see. Seems like a real guy. And the information he's talking about blows me away. It's recent. It's not old news. Although the stuff that he's saying are things that I was saying the other day. Have been going on for 40, 50 years. But I like him, so let's check him out in the background while I play some of these videos. What's that one got for time? 47 minutes. It looks pretty good. So does this one now. Alright, let's try part 59. Candace Owens, part 59 on the Michael Oziak channel.
Sustainable path. Literally, it's like it's been written by someone who used to be in the military. On the ground projects and mobilise. Okay, that's feet on the ground going in to shore up energy supplies to protect the fossil fuel industry, isn't it? Then you've got the World Business Council for Sustainable Development, who are based in Geneva. Super shady organisation. Have a look on their website and try and work it out. One of the executive committee chairs is Alan Jope, CEO of Unilever. What does Ethical Consumer website say about Unilever? Our research highlights several ethical issues with Unilever, including environmental reporting, habitats and resources, palm oil, pollution and toxic, human rights, workers' rights, supply chain management, irresponsible marketing, animal rights, animal testing, factory farming, anti-social finance, controversial technologies and political activities. So everything. So the chairman of a company that is super bad is on the board of a council for sustainable development who is a partner with the C40 cities who is trying to push through the ULEZ expansion via Sadiq Fura Khan. Then I've also got on there the World Business Council that hosts Alan Jope from Unilever on its board, also has on its executive committee Sinead Gorman, Chief Financial Officer of Shell PLC. And then the last page, and you'll be glad to know, is a printer alignment page, and you can see that my printer is perfectly aligned, but the interests of us real humans are not perfectly aligned with all of the funders and partners of the C40 cities who are trying to push through the ULEZ expansion via Sadiq Khan. These environmental policies are being pushed through with some very questionable people and businesses in the background. I hope that opened your eyes. Thank you very much indeed for watching.
Commercial.
The thing that we can do is come together. And that's what they're not expecting. And that's how we're going to win. Good afternoon. The weather in England is so bad right now that to avoid the noise of raindrops on my windscreen, I'm hiding underneath the canopy of my local car wash, which is closed due to the snow. Now, I want to talk about Sadiq Khan and what he said about protesters against the ULEZ expansion. In a recent interview, Sadiq Khan accused protesters with legitimate objections to ULEZ to joining hands with some of those outside who are part of a far-right group. The room erupted as he said this, but he went on to say something along the lines of, let's call a spade a spade. So, for the benefit of the people with legitimate objections to ULEZ and everybody else, and most particularly Sadiq Khan, let's take a look at what he means by right wing. Let's understand what a spade is when you call it a spade. And let's take a little look at where we are politically in the UK right now. Who's right wing? Is it the protesters? Is it Sadiq? Is it the government generally? Or is it the spade? Let's find out. Right wing politics describes the range of political ideologies that view certain orders and hierarchies as inevitable, natural, normal, or desirable, typically supporting this position based on natural law, economics, authority, property, or tradition. So the right wing is a system of thinking that believes that things just happen naturally and organically. We have equality, and that's because of the natural law of the markets. Hierarchy and inequality may be seen as natural results of traditional social differences or competition in market economies. The term right-wing can generally refer to the section of a political party or system that advocates free enterprise and private ownership, and typically favours socially traditional ideas. So we've got basically a political system that allows businesses to get on and do what they want, as opposed to giving everybody lots and lots of support, which is what you'd find on the left wing, eventually ending up with communism, which is the idea that everybody's equal and everybody gets supported by the state. We can then go on to look at social stratification, and right-wing politics involves, in varying degrees, the rejection of some of the egalitarian objectives of left-wing politics, like I just said, the idea that everybody is equal and things should be shared equally, rejected by the right wing. Claiming either that social or economic inequality is natural and inevitable, or that it is beneficial to society. So the right wing believes in ideologies where inequality is natural and inevitable. This is where we get onto the ULEZ. The inequality within the ULEZ is in the fact that the rich people will just pay the charge and not have to think about it. The poor people, on the other hand, are impacted in a much larger way. So a left-wing approach to the ULEZ expansion, for example, would be much more fair across the broad spectrum of incomes and different people, where a right-wing approach to ULEZ, which believes that inequality is a natural part of the system, would do exactly what ULEZ is doing right now, i.e. have the poor impacted to a much greater degree than the rich. ULEZ is a right-wing policy. You can see where we're going with this. Stay with me, because we're getting on to a pretty strong ending. British academics Noel O'Sullivan and Roger Eatwell, bet he had a good diet, divide the right into 5 types. The reactionary right, the moderate right, the radical right, the extreme right, and the new right. Now, the reactionary right looks toward the past and is aristocratic, religious, and authoritarian. The moderate right is tolerant of change, provided it's gradual change, and accepts some aspects of liberalism, including the rule of law and capitalism, although it sees radical laissez-faire and individualism as harmful to society. So the moderate right sees individualism as harmful to society. We're already seeing, both from the reactionary right and the moderate right, things that are going on in UK government. I know we have a Conservative government and a Labour mayor, but I'm getting onto that at the end. The radical right is a descriptive term which was deployed after World War II, and it was applied to groups and ideologies such as Thatcherism. There you go, British politics. The extreme right has 4 traits: anti-democracy, ultranationalism, racism, and the strong state. The new right consists of liberal conservatives who stress small government, free markets, and individual initiative. But the authors make a distinction between the centre right and the far right. This is where we get on to where we're going. The far right, by contrast, is used to describe those who favour an absolutist government which uses the power of the state to support the dominant ethnic group or religion and criminalise other ethnic groups or religions. Typical examples of leaders from the far right would be Franco from Spain, Mussolini in Italy, Hitler in Germany, and Pinochet in Chile. But we're reading this in 2023, and religion is mostly dead in Britain. Since Labour adopted the all-inclusive policy of everybody love everybody multiculturalism, we in this country no longer really have a dominant religion or a dominant ethnic group. Yes, we have the Church of England, but it's been so diluted in the last 20 to 30 years. Our leaders are now quite happy to celebrate Diwali or Passover, whilst at the same time calling Christmas offensive, which doesn't mean they're showing any particular ethnic preferences. To me, at least, it shows that they view ethnic and religious groups with pretty much the same amount of disdain and disrespect that they show the general people. Here in 2023, we don't have a society that is stratified based on your beliefs or the colour of your skin. What we have, effectively, is us versus them. And this mentality is foisted upon us by those that are in power. We have things like trust the science and fact-checking and the misinformation police in place of beliefs in religion and culture. So the preferences of ethnic groups have been replaced in the modern world, in the context of that sentence, by the interests of the ruling classes. The traditional religions have been replaced by any narrative created by the ruling classes to further their various agendas. So with that in mind, let's take another look at the description that we just read of far-right ideology, and let's replace some of the words to bring it up to date, to get a better understanding of whether the ULEZ protesters are far-right, or Sadiq Khan is far-right, or indeed the Tory government are far-right. So the phrase that I read earlier on said, the phrase far-right is used to describe those who favour an absolutist government which uses the power of the state to support the dominant ethnic group or religion and criminalise other ethnic groups or religion. So, to bring that phrase up to date for 2023, I would say the phrase far right is used to describe those who favour an absolutist government which uses the power of the state to support dominant wealthy political elites and their narrative and to criminalise all other narratives. Does that sound familiar? We've replaced religion with the dominant narrative, which is foisted upon us by the elites.
It's really good. The imagery is really good. I don't
If
want to
we're going
bounce
to
the
call
camera
a spade
around.
a spade,
Just turn your head left
a
or turn your
leader
head
who
right.
ignores the
and just
evidence,
look around.
makes up facts, bulldozes policy through and acts with impunity. The same leader that just accused the protesters against his plans as being far right is actually, by the very definition of far right, a far right dictator. So we've ended up in Britain with this system where instead of it being your religion versus my religion versus this versus that, we're all at the bottom and they're at the top. We have a system, instead of all of these different religious beliefs, we have the wealthy, powerful political elite class and everybody else. And I guess the message that's coming from myself as a YouTuber and everybody else as a YouTuber and all these people who are standing up and saying enough's enough is all of the religious classes and the cultural classes have been eroded over the years, and what we're left with is the political and wealthy elite at the top and everybody else at the bottom. And we're all from the bottom and we've had enough and we're coming for you. So, Sadiq Khan said that the protesters were right-wing without fully understanding what he was actually saying. Sadiq Khan's statement was saying, I am totally different to all of you and I'm going to do what I want, regardless of what you commoners actually think. Well, we've got the majority. And I think people are starting to realise that enough is enough. I see things around me now that give me hope. I'm getting phone calls and I'm being involved in conversations that give me a little glimmer that we might be able to do something. We might be able to stand up to this policy, these policies, these changes that are being bulldozed through. We are able to effect change because the one thing that these elites this wealthy political class of people, the one thing that they are not expecting is for us, the commoners, to see
So there's
through
some body
all of the
imagery there,
various
huh?
differences that we're told to
I
have
was
against
doing
each
something
other.
in the background and I just
And
happened to look
combine
over and
our
then I seen it. So looks like he's holding his face. I was trying to find the face. Right here, looks like it might be a hand and a wrist. Let me see. Trying to see which face it would belong with. Right there somewhere. Unbelievable. It's unfucking believable. The imagery is so good. These videos that I made, they're so good. I don't know, man. And I'm not trying to take credit for it. This is the true creator's work. Yeah. I might be seeing some body imagery in a couple different places, but I'm going to have to look at it a little bit longer first. So let's just keep playing. Really good. Really good. If you go to this video, this is Candace Owens series for Candace Owens, part 59 on the Mike Loziak channel. Use your own camera, take it off the tripod, and look around at the imagery, what you're looking at. You know, what you call clouds. You can see the true creator. You can see the true creator's builders. We can see it all now. And we all have to wake up now.
But collective powers. The one thing that we can do is come together. And that's what they're not expecting. And that's how we're going to win. Thank you for watching what was a fairly complex and quite loaded video. There's a lot more that I could have said on right wing, left wing, current politics and whatnot. But the general theme, as you can see, is things have shifted in Britain in the last 20, 30 years. So that we no longer have upper class, lower class, middle class, working class. It really is now just them and us. And I'm with you. I'm a normal person. And the normal people.
Yeah, I'll say that before this video ends up ending on me. I noticed that. I said it in the last video that I made, but I want to keep pointing it out. I'm noticing that I'm being allowed to find some real people again. And that's strange. So it's been a few years, you know, since they were allowing us to find each other on YouTube. We're only going to find agents, high-end people selling shit. You know, I don't want to name all their names, but a lot of them I'm making series out to. Anybody that's trying to sell you on something. This guy's not trying to sell us on nothing, so far I like him. Let me see if I can find another one of his videos. Okay, yeah, this one I'm going to press play up on the screen up top. And up top again, Candace Owens series, part 59.
Snow, sleet, but I have a funny story to warm you up about 2 destroyed electric vehicles. This came from a follower. This is brilliant. You ready? Hi, Jeff. Hope you're well. Finally have the full story of the destroyed EVs. A bit about the hero of our story. He's not stupid, but as is often the case with highly intelligent people, seems to have no common sense. For example, he has solar panels on his house. The story is, being eco-friendly, he bought, and I'm going to change a few details so that this person can't be identified. Being eco-friendly, he bought a new electric vehicle, and after a week he pulls up in a car park.
He hears what he thinks is bubbling from the battery and immediately panics. He thinks the battery is about to explode. So instead of doing what anyone sensible would do and getting out, he stays in the car, apparently unwilling to get out. He's banging on the window, trying to get the attention of passers-by to help. Now, I don't know if at this point the door is disabled and won't open, but what happens next is brilliant. Eventually, the fire brigade are called, and instead of cutting into the door to get it open, they cut it off. They cut the whole door off. The battery doesn't explode, so now he has a car that works, but has no driver's door. This is clearly, in his mind, the fault of the dealer. He then has to drive this 72 reg car without a driver's door attached because it's in the boot 4 miles to the dealer. Amazingly, they replaced the car. He thought it was a loan until his original was fixed. Hang on a minute. If you took a car with no door back to the dealer and they replaced it, I can only assume that that wasn't the first time it happened. A few days later, he puts the new car on charge overnight, not having a proper external charging point. He has to use his normal household electrics to do this. Notwithstanding the fact that I've covered this in other videos, and that would have taken him forever to charge the car. I love this bloke. Not having or buying a proper extension lead, he uses a number of 4-socket trailing extensions from the socket to the car. It rains in the middle of the night. He hears a massive bang from his garage and gets up and goes to find his garage electrics are on fire, which he manages to extinguish. He also decides that this is the dealer's fault. They tell him to go away. So this new car is now sitting on his drive, and being the bright spark, no pun intended that he is, he cancels his insurance. At some indeterminate point, the car sustained bodywork damage estimated at 1,500 quid to repair, which he can't claim because he's got no insurance. And this too is the dealer's fault, apparently. The car hasn't moved in weeks, and apparently he's wanting to sue the dealer. But he can't find a solicitor to take the case on. Feel free to use any of this. It's exactly as it was told to me. Cheers. Oh, man. Thank you very much for sending me that email to warm us all up on a cold day. That is absolute genius. I think that also says a lot about the kind of people that are buying EVs to some degree. Yes, I've had lots of emails and content from very intelligent people that know their stuff. But
remember, this guy's a car guy. He goes way off track from cars all the time. That's why I like them.
There's a lot of people that just go, "Here, Janice, I think we'll get one of them electric cars for our next car." And they don't look at any of the implications of it. So, if you have bought a brand new electric vehicle that definitely wasn't made by a British company that was sold purely as a brand to China so they could sell cars in China underneath an old-fashioned British 2-letter moniker badge, if you've got one of them and it's electric and somebody's had to cut the door off it and it's gone back to the dealer and they've given you a new one, please do get in touch. I've had a couple of emails about funny stuff like this. I've got another one coming about Kia engines being unbelievably terrible, and is there or is there not a cover-up going on about the diesel hybrid Kia engines? We don't know. We'll dig into that one soon. But yeah, bit of fun. Right, has it stopped raining? The big question is, are the raindrops coming in on the audio on this video? I don't know. Let's go to Morgan, have a coffee, and film in their showroom for a little bit. Yeah, but term here in the UK. I'm going to take a break from posting on YouTube to spend some time with the kids, but I'm giving you some homework. There is 3 very important consultations going through right now, and your homework for this week is to fill in the responses and the surveys. I, as your teacher, as the class leader, have taken it upon myself to put everything together for you, okay? So we have 3 consultations. Digital ID closes on the 1st of March. Road user charging closes on the 10th of March, and the digital pound, digital currency,
Isn't
closes on the
this
7th of
something?
June. These are three vitally important consultations. These three things, if they happen, will completely change digital ID.
Okay.
I,
Yeah.
as your teacher, as the
I'm gonna make sure we hear this again.
class leader, have taken it upon myself to put everything together for you. Okay, so we have three consultations. Digital ID closes on the 1st of March, road user charging closes on the 10th of March, and the digital pound, digital currency, closes on the 7th of June. These are three vitally important consultations. These three things, if they happen, will completely change your life, my life, and most importantly, the kids' lives. I've already done a video on digital ID and how that consultation was snuck through on the 1st of January with a very short lead time. I've just done a video yesterday on road user charging. That one's real bad news as well. Both of those end dates are in March. The digital pound is a bit further down the line. I've not yet done a video on that. Look, I haven't even had time to straighten my hat. I was that desperate to get this video out. I haven't yet done a video on the digital pound. That one closes in the 7th of June. If you want me to do a video on, forget it. I'll do a video on that one when I get back from my little YouTube break. Right. This document is available as a downloadable PDF in the description of the video. It's got all the links. It's got everything you need. I have made this document to be very easy to understand because the consultations themselves and the questions that they want you to reply with are not easy to understand. They are deliberately confusing. The questions are confusing. So this document gives you the links to all three consultations. It gives you the exact instructions on how to reply. It gives you the email addresses you need to send it to. And I've even given you some sample answers for if you read one and think, I don't know what that means. I wonder what I should type. It's all in here for you. Just download it. Don't copy and paste it, just like when you were at school, you know, make the answers your own, make some small changes. But in here we have, in order, the digital ID. So you can see that is the link to fill in the survey. The first question, your name, you should know that one, but it's optional. Email, are you an individual or an organisation? What sector are you in? And then data sharing. And then it starts the questions. The green bit there is my suggested answer. So strongly disagree. And then I've got a little paragraph. You can see the paragraph that I've written there. That's my answer on D. And it goes on. And permitting when you do it. Okay, so that is digital ID. The next one after that on my PDF is, I believe, I can't remember if it's road charging. It's road charging, okay? So once again, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 or so questions, all right? And again, I've got how you reply. I've written down my thoughts, so make it your own and get your answers in. It's the same for the digital pound as well, okay? I've done the same thing. It's a little bit further on. Tips on how to respond, digital pound. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, there's another sort of 14 questions. And then at the end, the final bit is you've got a comment section on the digital pound submission. And I've basically written on that. The last one says, please indicate if you believe any of the proposals in this consultation likely to impact persons with protected characteristics. They're basically asking if gays or lesbians or blacks and whites, because you know they like to put people into groups. They like people to put people into groups so that you identify as part of that group so they can easily divide us when they say, hey, you're that group, they're that group, they don't like you, they think this.
That's true.
Just, if you're
very
a human,
true.
I'm with you. It really is that simple.
Yep.
And I've written, as with other current consultations...
Yep, because when they put us under emergency conditions, that's the way they're going to do it. And then you're not even going to realize it. Your phone's going to zing and it's going to tell you where to go and what to do. If they already have your information, they already know who we all are. So they know what color we are. They know what we like to eat. They know what we look like. They know everything about us. So they know who to call depending on what, you know, on what they want to, how they want to corral us.
They make no provision for people who wish to be left alone. people who don't want to be a digital cog in a digital machine, people who just wish to remain as they are without having constant government meddling in their day-to-day lives, whether that's driving, finance, or identification. These consultations need to factor in an ability for the human being to just say no and refuse to be involved in any of these schemes that are alleged to be for the good of the nation. The digital pound, digital ID, and road charging consultations are all very, very small steps from being the framework that a tyrannical government needs to completely control the people. And as such, I reserve the right to refuse my involvement in any of this. So, it's a bit of a quick and rushed video. I've dropped the kids at the park to play football and I need to go pick them up, but I wanted to get this video out before I take my break. 3 consultations on 3 very, very important things. It is tedious to reply, don't get me wrong. It's not just a case of just clicking some buttons, okay? Read what you're doing, take your time to do it, follow the advice that I've given you in my answers, and please get your responses in. I know it's highly likely that, you know, they're going to pull a Sadiq Khan and pretend that they didn't see any of the responses, but look, if they're going to throw us a little bit of rope, we got to pull it, and we got to try and pull that system down with the tiny little bit of rope that they've given us, okay? Get your answers in. As I say, digital ID is the...
There's no rope.
You basically pay someone about £250 to £300. He turns up with a van and a computer, plugs into your car and removes as much mileage as you like. All you've got to do then is throw away the service history and sell it as a lower mileage car. Good afternoon. I have a part 2 for my police car video. I have a 2-part scandal for you. I have a giant waste of taxpayer money. And I have a crisis in the second-hand car market that is either the police turning a blind eye to the problem or the police encouraging the fraud. So stay with me for part 2 of my police car video, because some new has come to light, to quote the Big Lebowski, that's landed in my inbox after I posted that video. Little proviso, I filmed that police car video, and whilst I was editing it, I thought, this is a load of rubbish. I'm waffling, I'm talking rubbish about the past and why they didn't buy the cars and whatnot. And I stopped editing it halfway through, and I went to made a cup of tea. I thought, no one's going to watch this, it's rubbish. And then I sort of second-guessed myself, and I thought, you know what, I will post it up on YouTube. 70,000 views it's had now. So I thought, well, let's have a part 2, and I'll share some of this quite controversial information that has come to light. So, before we get into that, a couple of things. I've got a note about the pricing of police BMWs from a gentleman who would rather remain anonymous. The only thing...
Liberty Mutual customizes...
Don't want you to see this. They don't want you to understand it. They certainly don't want you to respond to it. The period of consultation is the 4th of Jan to the 1st of March. This year, we only have until the 1st of March to comment on this before it becomes legislation.
And we're already into March, just to let you know, so this is a couple weeks old.
That's everything in and done by December. We are on a very, very tight time frame with this. Good afternoon. I am making this video today on the banks of the River Severn, which is flooding as we speak. So if I make this video too long, then I will start to get wet. But it seemed to me to be an appropriate place to film this video because it does seem like the tide is rising. So this morning I had a message drop in my Jeff Buys Cars inbox, and after the ULEZ video I did and the Oxford traffic filter scheme and the Holy Island fishing ban, this did seem like a natural next step. We'll be back on car videos after this. It was raining today anyway, and the Alfa Romeo, predictably, for an Alfa Romeo, has thrown an engine warning light. So I was like, I'm not making a film today, Alfa, so the Alfa is sulking, and we'll do this video instead. I want to talk a little bit about digital ID, which is something that many of you have been terrified of for quite some time. And the message that dropped in my inbox this morning has got me all panicky and quite alarmed, to be honest, because we don't have very long to act on what is currently going through government. I spent some time digging through the proposal on the government website, and what I'm going to do in this video is I'm just going to explain it to you, because like many things, it seems to me that it's quite deliberately confusing. The questionnaire that they've put out for the consultation for the public is deliberately quite confusing, and we have a very short time frame to act. So that was a bit of a longer, convoluted introduction, but essentially, digital ID is coming. As I've said, this is something that many of you and us have been very worried about for quite a long time, and it is now on the government website. There is a proposal going through, and the way it connects to cars and ULEZ and everything I've been doing is it is being pitched to us on its benefits, and the bits that are left unsaid are the scary bits, like the Oxford traffic scheme, like the ULEZ car scheme. They're all done in exactly the same way. Right, let's get into it. What I've done, and all the links once again are in the comments, is I have printed out 19 pages of the government's proposal, document, whatever it is they want to call it. It's draft legislation, actually. So I've printed out 19 pages of draft legislation, and I'm going to explain it to you. Was that introduction too long? I'm going to leave it, because I just feel like I don't want to edit this too much. This is honest. And if I get emotional on this one, then that's honest too. Because this is like, the tide really is rising now. I've run out of ink on my printer, so I've printed it in blue. You can print it in any colour you like. And as I said, genuinely, the river is rising as we speak. So if I spend too long, then I'm going to float down the river. Because we've been sold down the river on most things, haven't we? Right. Original source, gov.uk, government consultations. Draft legislation to help more people prove their identity online. / consultation on draft legislation to support identity verification. Many words in there that should start to strike fear into your hearts. Now, the period of consultation is the 4th of Jan to the 1st of March. This year, we only have until the 1st of March to comment on this before it becomes legislation. They're going to publish the results on the 24th of May. The draft laying date for the statutory instrument is July. The enactment of the powers is October, and the data sharing in place is December. That's everything in and done by December. We are on a very, very tight time frame with this. Right, I'm going to read through it, and I'm going to put it into normal person speak as I...
That's December of 23. He's talking about. That's when they'll be all done. It'll all be implemented.
Go, because it's taken me all morning to work this out, and I don't want you to have to waste that time. Just follow the links in the descriptions to work out what you need to do. I'm going to explain it to you. What we have here is some background to the consultation, a sort of executive summary, then some more details, and then a questionnaire on your thoughts, which I'll get into in a minute, because it is... Okay. So, about the consultation, the organisations affected by this consultation are public authorities in England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, okay? So it affects everybody. And government departments, arm's length bodies, non-departmental public bodies and other organisations who may consider that they could be affected by the draft regulations. It's everyone, basically. What they're proposing to do is introduce a digital ID with multiple government organisations having access to your basic information. And by your basic information, what they mean is they call them... What do they call them? Just be a bit patient with this video, because it's quite a lot to wade through. I'm going to do my very best to explain it to you in as simple terms as I can. But I am going to need your cooperation.
And this is all shit that you should be hearing on your mainstream media if they were real. All of them. Fox, they wouldn't be wasting their time going back and forth to these other distractions all the time. They'd be telling you this. It's already happened. It's already done. And hold your hand while you go through your, into your next... It's me too. I can't say you, but all of us. Next stage of slavery.
On being a bit patient, because it's double-sided, and it's like 19 pages of double-sided. That's what they're expecting you to read and respond to. So I'm going to help you out by making a 15-20-minute video instead. What they're saying is the data that will be processed is your name, date of birth, address, email address, photographic images. Note how that's not restricted to your passport photo.
It's images, plural. Various identifiers, such as your passport number or driving license number, and then attributes held by government departments necessary for verifying the identity of an individual. That could be anything, couldn't it? Attributes held by government departments necessary for verifying the identity of an individual. Also, the outcome of identity checks previously performed on a user. That's your history, your ID history, where your ID has been used, how you verified yourself, and what other records they've got against you. And transactional data, for example, income. What data will be processed? Name, date of birth, address, email address, various photographic images, any identifiers, including your passport number and driving license number, anything that we previously hold on you, anything that came out of previous ID checks, and all of your transaction data. That's essentially what that's saying, okay? This whole legislation, consultation, proposal is asking for your permission, basically. Well, it's not asking for permission. But that's what they want to use. They want to use all that stuff in the following contexts. And work somewhere. But I've always believed there's got to be better ways to do that, because DBSs were never traditionally shared with people anyway, and it just means that bad people can go work in schools. Like, surely the most basic function of the DBS system is to stop that from happening, and it keeps happening. So clearly they're not doing their job, but they want access to all your information anyway, just in case. So, what are we actually saying? We have how to respond. We have provided a list of suggested questions for you to use when responding to the consultation in the questionnaire section. So they've written the questions that they want you to respond to in your response to this consultation. So I'm proposing some legislation, and I'm giving you the questions that I want you to ask me about my legislation, which is crazy in and of itself. But when we get into what the questions are, it gets even more murky, because the questions are just nuts. They don't help. This whole thing has been built because they don't want you to look at it in any detail. They want you to be confused by it, and they don't really want you to respond. So this is all going to happen. All of the questions are heavily loaded to ask you to question what the benefits would be of having ID checks. And the real answer to that is, yes, sometimes there are situations where it's useful to be able to show your ID quickly. Sometimes there are situations where people should be able to access your ID. But this is laying the groundwork for something else, and we know that, don't we? So, the executive summary. The public service delivery, i.e. the power, in Chapter 1, Part 5 of the Digital Economy Act 2017, so the groundwork for this was laid 5 years ago, allows specified public authorities to share personal information for objectives which are set out in regulations. What does that even mean? It means the Digital Economy Act allows authorities to share your information for certain things which are set out in regulations. So there are regulations in place that have a limit on what your data can be used for. And by your data, I'm not just talking like...
No,
it's a big term, okay? It's everything. It's literally everything. Who you are, where you are, what you...
It's everything. It's fucked up, and it's here now. So right here might be some other more body imagery, because we have this face here, eye, nose, mouth right here, and it looks like he's got some fingers and even hair and a thumb, some hair on his hand and a thumb for whatever he's doing, lifting something to his mouth or rubbing his face or something. But you can see the hair going on. He's got some color in his face here. I don't know if it's going to end up being facial hair, maybe. It might work out to it another angle. I see all the other faces, and I mean, the imagery is beautiful. I mean, you can't miss it. I wish everybody would come and look, and everyone's got to look.
What you're up to. That's what it means. This information sharing power is aimed at improving or targeting public services to individuals or households. So again, that's the benefit they're pitching. They are pitching this as an ability to target public services to individuals and improve their services. This is not about improving services. This is about increasing control and working out where you are and what you're up to. It also includes safeguards to make sure that the privacy of citizens' data is protected when shared by public authorities. So, new objectives for what the stuff can be used for can be created, and it goes on. And basically, it's talking about the code of practice as to what your data can be used for. And now the consultation is aimed at the general public. If it was aimed at the general public, surely they would have made it more accessible than this, because this is a nightmare. So that's sort of laying the groundwork with the proposal. Now we then have a ministerial forward, slightly blue in its printing because, as I said, I've run out of black ink, by Alex Burghardt MP, Parliamentary Secretary for the Cabinet Office. And he basically says the government's made a commitment to improve the way that data and information is shared and used across the public sector, okay, to deliver better joined up services and exceptional outcomes for our citizens. People often access government services in times of great need, and services must provide the best possible experience for users while maintaining privacy, trust, and building confidence. And it goes on. The proposed legislation will unlock the full benefits of a new government identity verification system. Do you understand what he just said there? Right, there's a van coming down here, but I don't think it's going this way because that's the river. The proposed legislation will also unlock the full benefits of a new government identity verification system. What he's saying is this proposed legislation will unlock the full benefits of the next government identity verification system. It's all coming, isn't it? The proposed data sharing legislation will ensure that more people than ever will be able to prove their identity online and access government services. So anybody who wants to use online services is able to do so. Furthermore, the government is committed to realising the benefits of digital identity technologies without creating ID cards. Do you remember when they proposed creating ID cards and everybody went mad? What this is saying is they're going to do it without actually printing a plastic card. And he